All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nav Thethi, and today we're going to discuss the maturity gap in the C-suite. The conversation today is going to be with Corinna Zennig, Bill Sanders, and Jason LeGunn. For a quick debrief from the previous conversation with Justin Robbins, Bill Sanders, and Jason LeGunn, we talked about the employee burnout is not coming from an individual. It's a cultural mismatch. It's a cultural issue. It's a leadership issue that needs to be addressed. We're going to discuss the solutions for these problems later down the line. Bill Sanders brought up the pilot trap, like companies are stuck, just keep running in loops and cannot scale on top of the transformation, especially around AI when education and alignment gaps are huge. And Jason LeGunn brought up a very strong point of cross-team collaboration and the transition, especially around the qualified leads. When sales teams are handoff with the leads without any context and details about the opportunity and the intent signals, sales teams struggle. And that's difficult to move on with. On that note, we have Bill Sanders and Jason LeGunn back to continue that conversation today with us. And we also have Corinna Zennig, who is coming from data background. She's a leader of data maturity and going to discuss with us, okay, how these problems are solvable with data maturity. So let's introduce them. Hi, Bill. Welcome back.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. All right. Thanks, Bill, for joining us back today to continue the conversation where we left a few days ago in the previous webinar. And we're going to discuss, okay, how this pilot trap is becoming bigger and bigger over time, and your theory of 41% of companies are struggling. And then, is there anything else? Like, do you want to add on anything more today?
Just introduction. My name is Bill Sanders. I'm a principal and managing director of Roebling Strauss. We're a group of execution strategists that do everything at a hands-on level. And we are heavy into AI implementation right now. And that's why we published the Executive AI Playbook and frameworks. So got a lot of that stuff to talk about today.
Saw your playbook and I love it. Lots of theory we have in common about the maturity code that we are developing. All right, let's move on to our next panelist, Jason. Hi,
Hello,
Jason.
everyone.
Welcome back.
Hello. How are you, Nav? Hi, Bill.
Hey, Jason. Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys. Just a quick intro. My name is Jason LeGunn. I specialize in enterprise sales and global business development. And I'm excited to talk about some of these strategies today in regard to alignment between marketing and sales and AI strategy as well.
Yeah, that's the important area, and your inputs are valuable because it directly touches the revenue stream for the organization. All right, let's bring in Corinna. Hey, Corinna.
Thanks, Nav. Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Corinna, I briefly were talking about earlier today is about the data maturity that you're going to discuss. You want to add on anything? Like, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you will contribute to this conversation today?
Yeah, absolutely. I run the Lazy Analyst, less work, more insights. And that tagline has never been as much challenged as this year with AI. And it's really all about the maturity behind your infrastructure, right? Do you have business intelligence infrastructure? That's what my company takes care of. We do data strategy and we implement architecture so that you can use your data to actually make profitable decisions in your business.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Corinna, and thanks, everyone. Let's continue with the AI playbook, the white paper that Bill you published, and you really published a damning metric that says enterprises are bleeding up to 40% of their AI value potential because they are stuck in the pilot trap, and that is exactly where I am also arguing in the maturity code that companies are stuck in pilot purgatory, and that is the experimentation phase where most organizations are struggling to scale out from. They cannot grow. What are your other key findings that, like, what are the bottom line reasons behind the pilot trap?
AI has already been proven to work. We don't need more pilot programs to determine whether it's going to work or not. It's going to be how it works with you, how it works with, as Corinna's going to talk about, your data. How clean is it, and what are you trying to do with it? Moving beyond proofs of concepts into actually making sure that when you design these things, you're actually generating tangible value by making sure that you understand the realities of running it actually in production. You've got to plan these things so that you're exposing your organization to the operational realities of running AI in production. Latency, interference costs, model drift, governance oversight, how clean your data is. All of those things have to be designed in. And if you don't, if you're just tossing this off to the tech team to deploy it and test it, you're wasting a lot of money.
But the investment is about testing the concept, and then scaling is become a challenge because is their target not clear, or the roadmap was missing at first place to what the end goal is? Why are we doing the experimentation?
Sometimes both. Everybody gets very excited about the new turbocharger that they're going to put on the car, and they don't really look at, is the car capable of running as fast as that turbocharger is going to push it.
Yeah, right. And Jason, I'll ask you, like, how do you see this that experimentation has become a struggle in cross-team collaborations between marketing and sales, because both teams are continuing doing the experiments as well with their tools, with their customers, and within the teams also for different processes. Where do you see the handoff is not right alongside the experimentation are happening?
I mean, I think you're spot on about technology and often overshadowing some of those foundational elements. When it comes to the handoff between marketing and sales, I think often it falters at a point of lead qualification and then context transfer. So what I mean by that is marketing may generate leads based on a specific criteria, but if those criteria are not co-developed with sales, I think we risk sending over leads that don't meet the necessary decision-making authority or budget constraints. So what that does is it kind of causes that SQL friction, right? Where marketing celebrates the leads that are truly not technically qualified from a sales perspective. And I think that, when a lead is handed off, if the sales reps aren't equipped with the context of the drop or something that disrupts the flow of the conversation, I think they need to look into fixing that. And one of the ways to do that is, implementing a shared definition of what constitutes what a qualified lead is, integrating that into your tech stack, while doing that through a seamless data flow and establishing a feedback loop where marketing and sales can become more aligned in that aspect. Experimentation is crucial, like I mentioned earlier, especially when you're integrating newer technologies into AI and into the process. And that allows myself and our teams to really test hypotheses and validate some of the assumptions and refine our strategies based on some of that real world data.
So the real world data means like the external data, like analyst data, or the customer's data?
It can mean multiple things. So real world data kind of encompasses both the internal and the external sources. And I think when we're talking about external sources such as market analysis, industry benchmarks, competitive intelligence, that kind of provides the context and helps both the companies understand the broader trends influencing some of the customer behavior. So I think that, we have internal data like customer interactions, engagement metrics, and sales outcomes, but often the insights are, specific to the audience. And I think how we craft our messaging and our responses can really affect our initiatives. Another thing that's really important to mention is, when you combine these types of data sets, we can create a more, I would say, comprehensive view of what that customer journey should look like. And I think when you do that, it allows us to refine our marketing strategies and our sales approaches really effectively. And that dual perspective and experimentation is really grounded in reality, which enables us as business decision makers to make informed decisions that are data driven and also create alignment between marketing and sales.
Do you see the tools are segregated as well, like the CDPs and the CRM systems, especially the scoring system around it?
Yes. And what a lot of companies are doing nowadays is they're implementing AI-driven lead scoring. The segregation of tools like customer data platforms, customer relationship management systems like Salesforce and others, they kind of create silos. And I think when that happens, it kind of hinders data flowing through those systems and the collaboration. So what I see when these systems operate independently is it complicates the lead scoring, the qualification process, and valuable insights are given from these customer interactions that may not be accessible to the sales teams in real time. So to bridge this gap, what I would usually suggest is integrating these tools. Integrating them together is essential, right? And I think that having a scoring system that leverages data from both the CDP and the CRM, where you can kind of create that unified view of customer engagement and intent, I think that integration allows more accurate lead scoring. It enables the sales team to prioritize higher quality leads and really engage with them effectively, which ultimately drives those conversion rates and revenue growth over time.
That's right. Sure. Behind all this, Corinna, I'll turn over to you. Behind all this, we see that clearly the data is segregated. It's all over the places, and nobody has complete visibility. And you are a data whisperer by your title, and you speak about data cleansing paralysis. What is that data cleansing paralysis, and what is the real world example of it, and then how it is related to the problems we are talking today?
Right. Let me maybe spin this the other way around and go right from the problem that Jason just described in good detail. Because those silos that Jason was talking about, that's just not when it happens in every company I've ever been brought into, right? It's not, and that's probably number one maturity, data maturity in a company, is that stuff, tools, infrastructure, nothing talks to each other. That is the number one maturity problem. And that's because nobody seems to be placed as like the leading adult. When you think about, you have lots of kids, you have the marketing, you have the sales, right? Everybody needs to be brought together and in order. There's nobody that typically takes over that responsibility of saying, look, I have my data hat on now, and we are breaking up silos. Like, you need to talk to that kid, even if you don't like it. You need to bring in your lunch from home, even though you typically forget it. Like, there is so much infrastructure, but also awareness that's needed, and somebody needs to take on that hat. So that, I think, is the number one maturity problem. And once all of these systems talk to each other, and we can achieve everything that Jason was talking about, that's maybe where then the cleansing comes in. And I think when people think about data cleaning or cleansing, they can't really imagine what that even means. So what I would like to talk about here is to bring in some AI into this feature, because everybody loves to talk about AI these days, is that, and going back to my tagline, lazy analyst, less work, more insights, nowadays translates to, let's just buy one AI tool and we never need anything else again. We don't need a CDP. Maybe we don't even need our CRM really anymore, just like as a backend system for, collecting data. We just need that magic AI tool that is promised to us, and it will do everything, right? It will connect to the data, it will cleanse the data, it will make it sparkly, and all we have to do is ask questions. Because let's face it, nobody ever wanted to look at dashboards or reporting or look at scores or what it means or how to qualify leads. all they want are answers, right? I'm a CMO. I need to make a decision about XYZ today. Here's my question. Give me the answer. And that, I have to disappoint everyone, is not possible today. Maybe in a year when we talk again, it's finally here and I will applaud it because nobody loves dashboards. But today, infrastructure is the maturity level. You need to build it. Even AI relies on clean data. If the data is not in a system, centralized, accessible to AI, and it's not explained in a way to AI that says, look, this is data from Shopify. It contains sales. And this is how it's structured. Your orders are in the order table, your refunds in. So you have to basically, like a child again, you have to explain to AI what clean data means, what good data it can look at and what it should not look at. And that's really a big problem right now.
That is spot on about data cleansing, but data cleansing have different definitions at different levels as well. Corinna, for example, just I have experienced that, like, when there are multiple tools, all modern tools are working together and integrated with each other for data sharing and building up one big dashboard or one big system all together. As you said, like, okay, um, leaders think, okay, we add one more tool and that solved all the problems. Okay, one more AI and then everything is done. If that one extra tool is added, although those previous systems are still valid, one new tool is also required in the business, but it has a different data cleansing policies. It has different data management rules and different validation mechanism as well. So data already stored has to sync into the new system, but the new system is rejecting a lot of records, millions of records, because it is not compatible from validation perspective. Basic example: null, not null, okay, of a data value. All the way to this point, uh, if there is an extra space, a special character validation, the lot of data gets rejected. What is your point on this constraint? Okay, like, what data cleansing really means in this case? For one tool, definition of data cleansing probably is score 7, for other it's 9, but it's still data hygiene. How does it work then? Have you ever faced this kind of a situation?
Well, that's basically the standard problem with tools. Tools should never be the end point in your journey, data journey, business intelligence journey. It should only serve a purpose, like extracting data that you couldn't extract yourself because you're not mature enough to just do backend development to grab data from HubSpot and Shopify and where not. But at the end of the journey should always be your own system, and that's typically a data warehouse. So even if you use a CDP, which already extracts data, it manipulates data and it reports on data. It should only be like a helper and not state. So within the helper, you're confined within one system. And of course, you have to make yourself familiar with the rules on how they clean data, how they bring it in, how they validate it. But when it comes to your overall reporting, like the business overarching reporting, that should be in your data warehouse. And the pipelines you lay there, and I call them data pipelines, those should be under your control. And that's how you unify, you standardize all of those cleaning mechanisms. So when we build pipelines from data sources, whether that's tools or original sources like AdNetworks, Shopify, HubSpot, that's where we have like even proprietary cleansing methods built in, because they have to happen every single time with every data source. And it, like you said, with null values or duplicate possibilities, it doesn't matter what the data source is, because at the end of the day, data quality checks will be very similar for every data point.
Yeah, that's right, and that is a continuous challenge. Every time there is a new addition in the tech stack, needs to be integrated and merged between systems, and same story every time. Yeah, that and yeah, this is something that we need to address as well in the long run. With AI is probably again, we are dumping a lot of responsibilities on AI to solve our future problems, but let's see where it lands eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we always recommend you need to be the owner of your own data. You need to be in control. less tools, more, instead of onboarding 3 more tools in marketing, marketing should onboard 1 more analyst. Because the real gap that I see is that marketing is always, on sales as well, they are supposed to be the experts in analytics. They're supposed to do their marketing analytics. They're supposed to do their sales analytics. But it's a very techy skill set you need to have to know how to grab data, manipulate it, store it, govern it, secure, make it clean. So really what they need is an analyst who's maybe not very strong in marketing, but very strong on the data side. And with that, you can save yourself 3 tools. You just get all of your data centralized into a warehouse, and then you can run any report any CDP could provide you, but customize it to really your needs. And with that, you're in control of your data. You're in control of the pipelines that feed and clean the data coming into the warehouse. And at the end of the day, that reduces your tool stack as well, because really you only have the pipelines. You could custom build them or use one tool to get the data into your data warehouse. And then at the end of the warehouse, at the end of the warehouse, you have one tool, which is typically a dashboarding tool like a Power BI, a Tableau.
Power BI, yeah.
Or maybe the AI answering your questions for you in the future.
That's right. Sure. And Bill, from Corinna's point, like, okay, CMOs or leaders think, okay, let's add one more AI tool and it will solve all of our problems. And that's exactly your another pillar in the white paper that says ownership without ambition, right? When CEOs write multi-million-dollar check to purchase the technology and hand it off to the middle management and uh, let them figure things out and deliver the value from it, and that's where the things start to break already, okay, because accountability is missing. And in the maturity code, we call it like alignment gap, and definitely a roadmap void, because we just have technology doesn't mean it will solve all of our problems, exactly what Corinna mentioned. And then what is your take on this pillar, and why just writing a check is not enough, and how to address that?
Well, I think I love what Corinna just said. Just flip it over and go back up even another step before you even get to data. What we did in the early 2000s, the last 20 years, is we've done the digital transformation. It's automating everything has just been table stakes, right? And everybody's done a pretty darn good job of computerizing and digitizing everything, but they've done it from a local optimum, and they've pretty much taken their existing processes and digitized them. And so you now have a legacy debt in your organization, that every legacy system you've got is causing debt in there because of the way it was worked. It wasn't redesigned to work with AI. And you're going to have to rethink every process you've got in terms of getting it to what she just described, right? Otherwise, we're just throwing money at a problem instead of actually solving the way we do the work and the objectives that it's supposed to come from, or that we're supposed to sort of reach with it. We received a new request for proposal this week. They laid out a whole bunch of KPIs. Every single KPI in their document was a technical deployment KPI. Had nothing to do with the business, had nothing to do with generating revenue, had nothing to do with how fast they could serve their customers or how much better they could serve their customers. There's zero measurement on that. Okay. It's just how's the deployment. It's a very, very myopic view of this. And, when we have our meeting with them next week, if they're not willing to adjust how they see this, then we're probably not the consultants for them, because it's not going to work very well.
Right. Yeah. I call those numbers or metrics are ingredients to the serving. It is not a food. It is not a ready to eat food. It is just an ingredient. I mean, you have to cook food on top of those numbers and metrics to actually make it consumable. And even KPIs are not enough. And the time you mentioned, early 2000 of digital transformation, I mean, the definition of digital transformation back then is just having a website or a database to submit a form rather than sending an email to a contact address. Just save it in the database and you are like perfect on the digital transformation world. But 10 years later, mid 2010s, when the cloud was at hype, okay, everything, digital transformation definition was changed when you have to be on cloud. Okay.
Yes.
But now it's AI transformation. So it's a moving goal. Everything is changing over time. We are talking digital transformation today. CRM, we have CRM, we have CDP, we have marketing automation, we have all the tools in the world that we want, but still companies are not mature because the definition of digital maturity has evolved. Digital transformation is just not just having a tool or all the tools in the world. It is just how are you using those?
Yes.
Oh,
It's the A and the C to execution framework. It's the adaptability process, right? You have to have adaptable execution, and you've got to have a system. And even all these pilot programs, you've got to have a way to kill them quickly. Learn what you can from them. And when they start growing past, like the maintenance of this stuff grows and grows and grows. And the more we turn loose of AI agents and the rest of it, the more work they're going to produce.
Yeah, and companies are paying high amount just to maintain those old servers that nobody knows what's running on those.
Yes. And it's quite expensive to move that stuff. I have a client currently in Dallas, and we started looking at the updates and upgrade to the data. And we're like, oh, what part of the data do you need? Because updating all of this stuff is going to be very, very expensive. And there's only a small piece of it that they need. And so we reset everything up from a zero base and started running things forward. And we isolated and kept what they needed, and we can go grab it as we need it if the cost of grabbing that data and it is worth it. And if it's not, doing a big technical deployment and redesign of everything just wasn't worth it for them.
Yeah, that's maybe if you want to explain it a bit more, because that's a common problem across all large organizations. Okay, there are a lot of systems running, nobody knows, and nobody wants to touch because nobody wants to take responsibility of breaking anything in the process, right? And that's an accountability problem. And how I play this card, sometimes when I see the risk is low, I just shut it down temporarily. Okay, I have done that, and nobody cried.
Right. If the report's going, if we're spending all this money generating a particular report and nobody's using it to make decisions, nobody's looking at it, it's just, it's a waste of effort.
Correct. And if nobody's crying, then why do we even pay for it, right? There are millions of dollars in yearly cloud bills only that companies are paying. Okay.
Yeah,
and
well,
clouds
Microsoft just cut it off this last week, right?
And that's the biggest black box in the tech stack right now.
Yeah, and I forget, I think it was Uber. Somebody's already spent their entire AI budget in the first 4 months of this year.
In the first quarter, first quarter for the entire year. Yeah, that's true. I mean, things like that happening. I mean, the cloud and AI systems are crazy, if not controlled correctly. Yeah, and maybe we want to discuss it in more detail, Bill, today or later about how to get rid of those legacy problems in the tech stack. Okay, some problems are really big and nobody wants to take a charge for playing around it. Just people are finding workaround to get their work done without touching those, and there's a huge money stuck in there as well.
Yeah, there is. And I think it all comes back to incentives. Right? I think the old quote is, "Show me the incentive, I'll show you the behavior." Right? The aligned incentives. This is an executive level problem. This is not a director level IT problem. This is, you're going to have to take responsibility as the CEO, as the CTO, as the CIO. You're going to have to take responsibility for this and build out an AI team that is looking at all of this and managing as it goes forward. It can't just be a pilot project that you throw a junior team at and say, hey, tell us where we can use AI to help reduce expenses. That is it's low hanging fruit, and it's not going to deliver what you want to deliver in the long run.
Absolutely. Right, Jason. All right. So Jason, what do you think about how AI can help both marketing and sales to consolidate their scoring model, customer journeys, and the mechanism to qualify leads?
Yeah, that's a complicated question, but one of the ways I think AI can significantly enhance alignment between the marketing and the sales team is by creating a cohesive, accurate scoring model for customer journeys. So I think that, a lot of organizations are not properly leveraging machine learning algorithms, and organizations can use that to analyze, large amounts of data to identify patterns with behavior, engagement, which I think will, allow for a more nuanced understanding of what constitutes a qualified lead. So for example, AI can help you consolidate scoring models by integrating multiple data sources, right? And web interactions, social media engagement, email responses, to really create a customer profile or a comprehensive profile for each of those prospects. And I think that, when you use this approach, it enables both marketing, sales to have that shared understanding of what makes a lead sales qualified. So moving beyond basic metrics like downloads or webinar attendance, instead we can look to incorporate a firmographic and behavioral signal that really ensures that the leads are being handed off are genuinely aligned with what that ICP looks like. So, I think that AI can facilitate the qualification process by automating some of that lead scoring and prioritization. But I think that, predictive analytics can help identify which of those leads are more likely to convert based on historical data. And then that can allow the sales teams to focus their efforts on high potential opportunities. And that not only streamlines a lot of the sales process, but it also reduces the friction between marketing and sales during that handoff.
ICP standardization is a big key here, but someone has to take responsibility to keep it updated and in sync all the time. What has been also observed that over time, when more data sources are added into the ecosystem, then ICP starts to get influenced as well, personalized by the team, by customer support, or sales reps, by sales reps inputs too. Is there any experience that you can share around when ICPs are also impacted with the temporary decisions?
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Maintaining an up-to-date ICP is crucial for driving alignment.
That's the main pillar behind CDPs and CRMs, right?
Yeah, I mean,
strategies.
One notable experience I had was during a major launch at a company I recently worked at. We were ramping up our go-to-market strategy in an effort to kind of quickly launch and gain traction with our campaigns. So what we did is we made some temporary decisions to target a broader audience that really established what our ICP or what we thought it would be. So initially, it seemed like a smart move to capitalize really on those, immediate opportunities, low-hanging fruit. But it really soon became clear that the approach was kind of diluting our messaging and creating confusion among our prospects. So we kind of found ourselves attracting leads that didn't align with our core value proposition, which really ultimately, impacted our conversion rates. Sales reps were spending more time on leads that were not a good fit. It led to frustration, wasted resources. So we recognized this issue and we pivoted back to our defined ICP. And, when we did that, we were able to make adjustments within our approach to really target who our current ideal customer profile is by leveraging rich data with CDP, identifying patterns, preferences, and even behaviors that inform the ICP, making it a livable document that evolves with the market. Now, on the other hand, there's CRMs out there for managing customer data, interactions, and tracking engagement through the sales process. And, that's great. It provides sales teams with the context they need to approach, prospects effectively, based on some of that historical interaction and insights gathered from the marketing team. But I think, a well-integrated CRM can help ensure that the sales reps are aligned with the ICP by highlighting some of those accounts that fit that defined criteria and, flagging those that may not. So I think when you have these systems that work in tandem, it creates a powerful ecosystem that supports revenue alignment. And I think marketing can leverage insights from the CRM to optimize some of their campaigns, target their high fit accounts. And, sales can access that real-time data from the CDP to understand the customer's needs, tailor their outreach accordingly. And all of these CDPs and CRMs are essential for maintaining a dynamic ICP, right? And that ensures that the marketing and sales team is operating really on a cohesive revenue engine. And I think that facilitates what that data-driven decision-making should look like. And it, creates a seamless experience for both the teams, and helps to really build those relationships and drive revenue growth.
Yeah, that must be a good experience. It's kind of an experimentation that you did with ICPs. I mean, my where I was coming from was like randomly touching ICPs by like just anybody's decision, anybody's inputs. Okay, my boss likes to add one more parameter to ICP. Oh, let's do that. I want to look good to him or her. But what you did actually was the planned experimentation on ICPs, which didn't work, and you rolled back, and then you were back on track, which is the right way of doing things. Yeah, but again, the bottom line is ICP is definitely one of the key parameters behind all those strategies, especially in alignment with marketing and sales. If one room is speaking French and other team is talking German, I mean, of course, it's it's not gonna fly, right? Okay, and you're what's that?
Actually, I have a question, Jason. Was that a planned check-in, or what triggered that rollback?
Yeah, we were evaluating the data and the results that we were seeing from it, and we really kind of went through that. And the rollback really was triggered by a combination of performance metrics, feedback from the sales team, and what we did is I set up regular check-ins to review the ongoing campaigns, kind of assess the quality of the leads generated against our revised ICP. And then during one of those sessions, it kind of became clear to me that the new parameters were attracting a significant number of leads that were not converting, and sales reported a noticeable increase in disqualified leads. So that data kind of showed a stark contrast between the engagement levels of our leads that fit the original ICP versus those that fell under maybe our new parameters. And that really, to answer your question, prompted us to dig deeper into that feedback from the sales team, which really, shared that many of the new leads, lacked authority or budget or purchasing decisions in general.
Awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so Corinna, what do you think about like with data behind all this? Like there is a lot of, again, if ICPs are pillars, then data is actually a unit to combine all that, right? It's a adhesive to join all those processes. In your data perspective, and especially when we talk about AI, it's garbage in, garbage out that we call as a term, right? So you feed in bad data, you get bad results. But what do you think? Is there a thing like good data at any time?
Oh, hell yeah. But
What is
do
that-
companies
what
have
is
it?
that
Mostly
state?
not.
Is it like good data or good enough data? Because
You should always
data is
strive
always
for good
evolving,
data.
right?
Always
What's that?
evolving. Right?
Well, I wouldn't say data is evolving. It's more like, how do you process data that is evolving a lot? And these days people think, all we need is AI to process data. But when it comes, even something like ICP, I mean, we've been running segmentation analytics 10 years ago because you don't need AI for that. What you've always needed is good data. And what is good data? And that's why you don't need good enough. You can always strive for good because it's totally possible. You need to extract your data from the sources, run it through very templatized, very known, well-known frameworks of this is data quality. These are data quality checks. Ingest it and store it in a database. So now you have all your clean data centralized, and then you can use it. And that means you don't need AI. Segmentation analytics, for example, to look at who is actually in your database right now versus, or in your customer base, so to speak, versus who is the ICP we're targeting. That's always been a super important analysis to do. Because who's in your data, you might have an ICP of, women's in their 20s without kids. But then when we run our data science without AI over the actual data you've collected, once it's accessible in a database, you might find out, for some reason, it's actually dads in their 40s who own a dog. So it's this constant checking reality, right? Who is my ICP, but also, is my data mature enough so that we can constantly run a check against who is actually now in our customer base? And that I think is very important. People get blinded by AI, but really what you need is just governed data.
That's true. It's not just about AI. If I go back 20 years, when AI was not even a keyword, um, we talk about relational database, and if your connections are not right, you run a query, you won't get the right response in your data set. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is
Yeah.
true always. Like, you don't have good data structure, you won't have good results. That's true. But right now, when the world is moving very fast, and everyone is talking about data hygiene, everyone is talking about data readiness, what is that state when data is ready to feed into AI? Why can't we just go in agile way, that like you train your agents in pieces, in small use cases? What is your take? I mean, what is the right way of doing it when we look at AI at scale? If we wait for the entire data to clean and be ready for AI before we move forward, we may be too late.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what Bill was talking about, the legacy systems, right? Is that why we also have the legacy systems from 15 years ago? Because people think if we properly decommission them and migrate, it's going to be too late for whatever is happening. My hot take is no. You need the data foundation first. And depending on your company size, it might not take more than 6 months. While in the meantime, you can get ready for AI. What most people don't understand is, even though it seems like everything is moving so fast right now, it's that the real changes right now happen about every 3 months, I would say, looking at the last 18 months. It is everything before that, it's hype online, on social media. But once it settles down and it becomes a feature in all of the AI tools we have and know, it's about 3 months right now. So thinking about a 6-month data foundation sprint, I think is absolutely realistic. And it's been the same topic. Like when I worked for Deloitte in 2013, big data was the hype, right? It was not AI. Cloud was slowly coming out. It was big data. And I was always asking the question, well, do you have your small data? Because most companies didn't have any data. So how can we look at big data? Then machine learning came up, right? Still not AI. We need to do machine learning. We have big data now. Machine learning needs governed, cleaned, centralized data. Are you going to implement that now? Because otherwise we cannot run machine learning. We cannot run segmentation analytics, attribution modeling, all of the data science words, right? And companies were like, and they moved on with their Excel sheets, right? And now, 15 years later, and I'm still rolling the same mantra. You need the data foundation. You need the data foundation. Corinna, we want AI and it's moving so fast. You need the data foundation. Because if you don't have the foundation, AI will not work. Big data didn't work, machine learning didn't work, AI will not work. And the real problems, and I think we already tapped them a little bit, is that right now, what is AI? It's a large language model. It's something that needs access to tools in order to even interact with them. So think about it, just marketing, having 20 tools, right? CRM, email, wherever they are, ads,
There
5,
is
6,
no
7
more.
ads, right?
Add
So we're
more
just,
zero in the
yeah, I
marketing
mean,
tools.
even now we are only starting to get the first connections. I work in Claude, for example. I have a HubSpot connection. I have a Coda connection now. It does not have a LinkedIn connection. It does not have, well, Shopify just added the connection. So we're slowly getting to a point where the AI has more access. But what does access mean? It has access to what I call the back door of a tool. So think about it, when you work in a tool, you see the front end. It's like some shiny interface, right? That's made for you. In the back end, you have to imagine just this basement room just stuffed with things, right? That's basically every data point that tool has ever collected. And there is a basement door. We have access to that door. It will give you access. 99% of tools give you access to that basement door. So of course we could give that key to AI now instead of to our data pipelines that feed databases. AI will open the door, see the mess, and just like make up stuff. It's like, oh, I see something shiny over there. It says orders. That must be orders. Let's just only focus on that. I don't know what the rest is. I'm just going to ignore it. So not only do you need to give access to AI, but you need to basically give it an inventory. What is in the basement? And what does it mean? There's 3 teddy bears, but one is for the daughter. The other 2 are actually like high fashion, super expensive art things, right? So AI doesn't know that. It sees 3 teddy bears and it thinks it's the same. So you have to imagine AI like a child. You need to educate it.
You need to train it.
So giving access,
Yeah.
educating it. And of course, you could make that possible in a basement that's just full of stuff. But is it going to be good? No. The basement is not clean. It is not organized. AI will use way more tokens. That's another thing, right? The usage goes through the roof. I have one client who's switched to Claude completely for BI purposes. Their Claude cost, we're like 3 weeks in and it's already a third up. And so that's what we really need to consider when we consider what is AI maturity. It always comes back down to data foundation, and no, you cannot skip it. Not right now. Maybe not next year. I don't know.
Yeah. So just from a post yesterday by Scott Brinker, he's a panelist in the next webinar, the godfather of MarTech. He posted just one line, token maxing versus token minimizing. So I clearly see an application of Parkinson's law here, that the number of tokens you get, you will end up using those. So we should really flip the table here to look at like what is the most valuable information or the use case that we need to implement, and do that with the minimum utilization of tokens and with maximum efficiency. Just do not spread across the limit available. I mean, that's what's happening because it's other people money.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Bill said earlier. You have to think about, if you go back to the basement, everything's in there: sales data, marketing data, ops data, finance data. But really what is important right now, and that's how you gain speed. Okay, right now, marketing is flying blind. They can't see the full customer funnel, and they need that to make budget decisions on ads, right? Or they need that to make decisions on how to revamp their email marketing, whatever it is. That means we don't have to organize and clean the whole basement. If marketing is priority and marketing wants AI at the end of the day as well, we're like, okay, let's go in, grab all the marketing things we need. Probably not 100% of data marketing collects. It's probably just 30% what they really need. And then build a foundation around that. And once you have a use case there, maybe your AI use case is running, then you can go back to the basement and do another sprint of cleaning.
Correct. Sure. Bill.
I agree with Corinna on that. We recommend that you're going to spend about 4 to 6 months doing that data cleanse, and we run it parallel as you start running your pilot projects.
Sure. Okay. So, Bill, you work closely inside the organizations with leaders, and as we all agree right now, like all these failures we are seeing in the AI transformation is not a technology problem; it's a leadership problem. Where do you see that org structure should change as well? Okay, with agents are coming up in the as your collaborators, and people are also becoming orchestrators for AI and human force. How do you see the team structure should change as well for the post AI future?
Well, as a co-author of Hierarchy to High Performance, this top-down command and control is already flattening as organizations mature. Just the market demands it. So you have less and less managers. Managers are managing more and more people, and now they're going to have to start managing independent agentic agents as well. So the way we do business is really going to have to be rethought through all the way down. And so, yeah, there's definitely going to be some org dev work that's going to need to be done. And that's going to start with, taking a blue ocean approach again and saying, what are we trying to produce? What are the tools and the resources we have to produce it? And rethinking through that entire optimization of your processes up front, the innovation of those processes with AI in mind, is going to be required in order to deploy this effectively over time. And it's not a one size fits all. There's going to have to be a lot of experimentation, especially in working with AI, especially in working with compliance, and making sure that you're determining and rolling out AI where it's appropriate. Right? Most companies are not going to build their own large language models. Right? They're going to build very, very small, specific things. I read about a cheese company recently. Lots of mistakes on their billing from UPS and DHL every month, and nobody has the time to go through and do that. So they built an AI agent. Everything they ship, because they've already got prices on every size box they ship out with every weight. And so everything that goes out gets measured by AI, and then it immediately, when it gets the bill, it goes back through and measures everything against that, identifies all the billing, and then immediately applies for the refund. And it's generating 8 to 10,000, small deployment, very light, not on the web, on their servers. No token cost here, and it's generating $8,000 to $10,000 a month in refunds that they didn't have time to go through and do before. So you're going to see a lot of those little individual things deployed. You're going to see the frontier AI models where they belong, and then you're going to have the stuff internally where you're running agentic workflows where you have the control over your data internally. And those are kind of the three areas that people need to be thinking about. I think when you just look at Microsoft's issue here is they're running the big frontier model for everything, which is why they ended up canceling those contracts.
Yeah. Offline AI is in discussion as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do see it's a very interesting area to look at. I mean, there is an IDE tool, generative IDE, that recently been launched, and I'm in touch with the CEO of that organization, and they claim that your data doesn't leave your computer, and I do see that as a future. I mean, you download a package, the model on your local, and you run everything in house. So first of all, it's a security matter. It's your data privacy, and your models remain with you. You're not training your competitors on the public model, right? So
And a lot of the enterprise deployments already have that in play, especially
right.
if you're already operating in the cloud.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's what will happen eventually. And on the hiring note, what should leaders look at when they want to hire their direct reports?
Well, I'd love to hear from Jason and Corinna on this one, but I think it goes back to agility and willingness to learn. A lot of it is it's intelligence and attitude. If they're willing to get in and try it and work it and learn it and take it from the point of view of how can this help me do more faster, instead of how can this keep me from doing work. I mean, take it from a student perspective is how can this help me learn more versus how can this help me write a paper so I don't have to actually dig in and do the work.
Yeah, coming back to your metrics,
difference in attitude is huge.
Yeah. Your metrics analogy, producing a lot of operational numbers on a reporting dashboard is not enough. So just doing work, finishing your task is not enough anymore right now. So in the future ready world, what value you are adding to the group, what outcome you are influencing by your day-to-day activities, and how it is.
Yes. Can you connect your data? I mean, this is part of the issue. I think we talked a little bit last time, Jason, was people want to feel like the work they're doing is important.
Yes.
And if they're constantly doing rework, if they're constantly doing, if they're not sure that they're actually contributing, it's demoralizing in a lot of ways. And you get the people that quietly quit and check out and just do the bare minimums. And if your incentives are check the box and do the bare minimums, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sure. Jason, what do you feel about the future ready teams persona?
Yeah. I mean, I think Bill hit it right on the head. Agility and growth mindset are really essential traits. I think that individuals feel when they feel their work it lacks significance or it's mired in rework, it can cause disengagement. I think the concept of a future-ready team is crucial in today's fast-paced business, especially with AI. A future-ready team, it embodies agility, collaboration, a sense of purpose, right? And I think that these types of teams are not just focused on checking boxes. They're actively looking to innovate and drive meaningful change. And I think, to find these type of people with this type of persona, I think organizations must foster, learning, continuous learning, empowerment, where team members are encouraged to take risk and challenge some of the status quos, and that involves providing the right tools and resources, as well as the supportive environment that values creativity and an initiative. And I think when team members feel they have a stake in the outcome and are recognized for their contributions, they're far less likely to, quietly quit, as we like to say, and feel really engaged in their roles. And I think, like, we spoke about, or Bill mentioned earlier, aligning incentives with outcomes rather than the mere activities is essential, right? And that means shifting from a mindset of completing tasks to one of delivering value, right? And I think that by focusing on those shared goals and the collaborative success, I think that future-ready teams can thrive, really driving the organization forward while enhancing, individual satisfaction and commitment along there. So it's a huge part of it.
That's sure. Corinna, what do you feel about the future's role?
Yeah, I mean, Jason really hit it on the head there. It's really the change management. If you want to make your company AI ready or really dive into AI, you should have a change management consultant on your team right now, or an advisor, whatever you prefer. I don't think it will work with tools or with just trainings to enhance whatever people know already from their personal experience. It's really the change management that's going to be needed. And then, I mean, it goes back to any other change that's happened in the past in terms of technology. You need to make a differentiation when you hire between, do I need a subject matter expert, like a marketer or salesperson, that is also open and willing to learn to use tools, or do I right now need the IT person who really knows their stuff? They know the models, they know about local models and not local models, and they know how to coax requirements out of stakeholders in terms of what are use cases for your very specific department, team, and then build them, and then help the team, the marketing, the sales team, implement them, adopt them together with the change management support that the company now has. So don't look for that unicorn that can do both. I need a super A-class marketer that also is an AI expert, because that's what I've always seen with data. We need this super expert marketer, and they need to know everything about marketing analytics and how to do data, right? So that's the same with AI. You want an expert there to guide, and then you want team members who are open but don't have to be AI experts. And please don't let AI write your job descriptions, because I've seen many of them. And I've seen AI job descriptions for AI experts that say, we want 3 to 7, I'm not kidding, 3 to 7 years in this skill, 3 to 7 years in that skill. And I'm like, that skill only exists for the past 2.5 years. Like, it wasn't existent before then. Like, nobody could have had that skill. So think about those job descriptions yourself, refine them with AI, but don't let them don't let them be written by LLMs.
Great. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your kind inputs today. It's really valuable conversation, and I hope we created good list of problems to discuss in the future episodes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Yeah,
Great to see you all.
sure. All right, that's a wrap for today's conversation as well. And we definitely have very strong arguments to discuss in the next episode on June 22nd with Scott Brinker, Bill Schmarzo, and Antonio Neto Rodriguez. Save the date, June 22nd. I'll see you again. Thank you.